Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true.
The .169 at time of autopsy. Is that correct?
Yes, but you can come up with any number of simulations by working backwards from a specific concentration. And that's basically what he's done with his simulations.
I have another diagram I'd like to mark as J, 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 J.
Quadruple Juliet.
Now,
Could I ask one question?
yes.
If you could go back to that last simulation, I'd just like to point out a couple of things that to me are bothersome. Specifically these last few injections, where the patient was apparently would have been given large dose of lorazepam, 4 milligrams, at a time when they are at a high blood level and would be expected to be asleep.
Well, in addition to that, Doctor, I want you to refer to diagram JJJ, which incorporates the midazolam.
In the last one? Or is this triple J or quadruple J?
Quadruple J.
Okay, I want to be careful, so. All right, the most recent marked diagram.
If we go back to that, now Dr. Schaefer's already confirmed the fact that the midazolam injections, as stated by Dr. Murray, correspond with the results at autopsy, correct?
Yes.
Now, assuming that Dr. Murray gave 2 milligrams of midazolam at 3, 2 milligrams at 7,
7:30.
in your opinion, based upon Dr. Schaefer's simulation, is he giving that midazolam to an unconscious person?
Well, if you look at his representation, if there's no response to a painful stimulus with a benzodiazepine, it implies that the patient is is anesthetized, essentially general anesthesia. Because if they were deep sedation, they would, of course, respond to a painful stimuli because it's not an analgesic. So the only way you can block a response to a painful stimulus with a benzodiazepine or propofol, for that matter, is to have them at anesthetic levels, very deep, beyond deep sedation. So if that's in fact the case, then he gave at least the first dose, unless he gave it right here at the minimum. I mean, I guess you could argue that he was in just a deep sedation when he gave the first bolus, which really wouldn't make a lot of sense either, and that he was well above the line here when he gave the second dose at 7:30. So it does not seem like a rational practice, no.
You wouldn't give a highly sedated person 2 milligrams of IV midazolam?
No, I would not.
Now, I want to go from there to your simulation of, based upon Dr. Schaefer's information, this J-H-I-J.
Quadruple kilo.
Your Honor, do you ever run out of letters?
When we get to infinity, Dr. White.
This is a computer model based upon, well, tell us what this computer model shows.
Well, first I'd like to correct a misstatement you made. You attributed this to me, and this pharmacokinetic modeling was performed by Gabriella Nullin-Ornalis, not by me.
At your request.
At my request, yes.
And does it help you inform in your opinion as to the more likely scenario regarding lorazepam in this case?
Yes, I think it does.
Could you explain it?
This diagram shows lorazepam concentration here in micrograms per milliliter, again as a function of time along the x-axis, and this would be time from midnight on the day in question. It shows the simulated lorazepam concentration and the concentration that was measured at autopsy in the femoral vein. And what you see is the simulated average concentration curve with an initial 2 milligram bolus dose of lorazepam at 2 o'clock, followed by a second dose of lorazepam at approximately 5 o'clock, and then followed by an additional dose of lorazepam given at around, I'm having the same problem as the last witness because my eyes, I think that's 7 a.m., if I may.
Could you expand a little bit, Mr. Flanagan? And freeze it and maybe pass a copy to Dr. White?
Yeah, Your Honor, I'm okay with this expanded version.
Okay, now.
Yes, sir. It shows initially following this large dose achieving a substantial level of lorazepam, and then the decline down to a level slightly below what was measured at the time of autopsy.
Now, this dose would be based upon, as it's shown here, what would that require in terms of IV injection or oral pills?
Well, what we've tried to simulate here is the 2 IV injections that Dr. Murray described in his report or interview with the police, and then the possibility that instead of injecting the doses in what I consider a very irrational and irresponsible way, as depicted in the sawtooth diagrams, the possibility that Mr. Jackson actually took pills orally, which he had available and had used in the past. The simulation shows 20 milligrams, which is equivalent of 10 2-milligram pills or 5 4-milligram pills taken at the same time at about 7 a.m., presumably with liquid, and achieving a peak level in the blood about 1 to 2 hours, typically 2 hours after oral administration, and then the subsequent decline in the blood concentration.
Now, that diagram, KKK, assumes a 0 start, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And
It assumes that Mr. lorazepam had no blood level whatsoever of lorazepam.
Say it again.
Did
Had
he
no
say
blood
Mr.
level of
Lorazepam?
lorazepam when this medication scenario started.
that's correct. And as I stated in my earlier in response to one of the simulations, we would expect there to be some residual because we know for a fact that Mr. Jackson